argue it, you can mock it. You will always harvest what you plant. Can you help me turn to that neighbor seated by you and ask him or her, what have you been planting? Don't wait for answer. Just leave the person. What have you been planting? So we started some 3 weeks ago on the pathway to favor. And we have seen, number one, we saw walk in purity. Number two, we saw also walking in the consciousness of being favored. Number three, we saw embrace integrity as an identity. And then number four, we saw the lifestyle of generosity. And number six, we also saw staying in gratitude. That was last Wednesday. And this is number 7. And before I mention number 7 to you, I'd like to once again remind you that favor is not luck. Favor is not luck. Favor is an atmosphere activated by obedience and faithfulness to sacred truths. There are people that wait for luck. But favor is not luck. Luck is circumstance. Luck is not under your control. Favor is an atmosphere that is activated by obedience and by being faithful to discover truths. Like I told you last time, you can actually walk, irrigate, engineer your favor. You can create that atmosphere and live in it. It follows you in your business, follows you to your place of assignment, follows you in your marriage, follows you in your career, and follows you anywhere you appear when you have engineered it. So favor does not visit people. Favor follows a pathway that is carved by its own rules. So it has its own rules. It has its own pathway. It's like a train. A train has its own tracks. It won't run on the road because there is space. If you desire a train, then you must lay a track. If you desire a train, you must lay a track. It follows his track. It does not run because there is space. The same way with favor. Favor does not visit people. Favor follows pathways carved by its own rules. So wisdom demands I find out what is the pathway of favor. Where do I follow to arrive at my destination? If to live and function as favored is your desire, then wisdom becomes a responsibility upon you to find out where do I take. So having said all of that, the 7th pathway to favor is what I call goodwill. Heartfelt goodwill towards the favored. The average man gets jealous, envious, antagonistic, or critic of whoever is favored. But the wise man knows that when I see favor operate in the life of a person, then wisdom demands that I sow goodwill towards that. And if you understand this wisdom, whatever you keep sowing begins to multiply upon your life. Now listen. This was a secret God gave me from Enugu. Some of you that I have dedicated cars for, you see that anytime I dedicate that car, a car, I will give you money to buy fuel. Now, I didn't learn it from anywhere. It was a revelation God gave to me. He says, anytime you dedicate a car, something good has happened. And the elements are witnesses that you are dedicating this vehicle. When you celebrate it, it begins to multiply. As at then, the number of cars that used to come to church, the church I pastored in Enugu, maybe like 100, not even up to 100. Maybe around 70, 80 cars on a Sunday morning. Within 2-3 years, we had over 700 and something cars. That is not people. The count for cars that came to church, 700 and something. It began to spring from left, right, and center. People were getting blessed. It began to multiply. Because just like our church is here, that was the way it was then in Enugu. They said, no bus through today. You have to go 2-3 bus stops. I told the people there and I said, if you keep coming and you remain faithful to the things I say, God will see that you need a car and you provide a car. The reason people struggle many times and elongate their season of suffering is because they don't understand the power of resilience. They don't understand what it means to stay true in the pursuit of a discovered value. They choose the path of convenience. And that's what makes the water or the river crooked. Some people just diverted. Let me go and worship the church that is close by. Just like the stories I've been hearing. And some people say they can't come to church because they can't pay transport. Do you know how much we spend as bus transportation? Now, it's okay to do that for students. But for adults, you can't come to church because you don't have transport. But if there's burial, you have transport to go for burial. If there's wedding somewhere, some of the people travel from here to Anambra to attend wedding. But from MCC, from Oji, from Naked there, to come to church, you say you don't have transport except we send bus. Are you seeing why some people are not getting blessed? And some people dropped off. And I told them, I said, we won't do much. We send bus to some of our students, at least to bring them. We know these ones they are not working. But for an adult that is working, you are doing something, and you can't plan transport to come to church except bus comes to your place. Listen, that's your responsibility. It shows the absence of value before God. As you plan to go to work, factor your transport for the week just 2 times, Wednesday and Sunday. So before you know what's happening, as I began to do that, I didn't mind what people were saying. That's how the thing broke loose into the atmosphere. People were just buying cars left, right, and center. That was the church I pastored. This is one of the services. This is just one service. All that place, this is even a long time because that facility, that land by the left, you see the way we bought it, fenced it. Now these cars lined up down to that and then back to the roads, almost to the express, all over to this place, and just flooded like that. And it was the church we started. When we started at Presidential Road, when we see 10 cars come to church, it will be like breakthrough because our car park will contain maybe like 12 or 15 cars. Listen, I pray that somebody will gain something. When I speak to you, I have told you this severally, I am not speaking to you theoretically. I am speaking to you what I have seen, what my hands have experienced, the things I have proved. And I can tell you, sir and ma, it works. And if you believe it, it will work for you. If you believe it, it will work for you. If you believe it, it will work for you. That's why when I see people serve God like a basically serve God at their own terms, I just wonder, I say, what are you doing to yourself? How long will you stay on this plane? So goodwill, when you see God do something around you, know that God is within your neighborhood. You see a brother get blessed, connect to that blessing. You see a sister is planning marriage, connect to it. You see something good is happening around somebody. Don't criticize it if you are not a witness. Like sometimes some young pastors come here, this person said he was doing this, he saw God in this dimension. Pastor Tim, please tell me, how true can this be? I said, I don't know how true it is because I wasn't there. And God does not take permission from any mortal to determine and choose how he visits a person, or how he interacts with a person, or how he encounters a person. God sometimes can give strange instructions based on a prevailing circumstance where he knows the secret. To some, Jesus touched their eyes and said, be healed. To some, Jesus molded mud and placed on their eyes. To some, he said, go and show yourself to the priest. To some, he said, go and wash. To some, different instruction based on the secret behind the affliction. So many times, God chooses a way to terminate or to encounter his people based on the mystery that you don't understand. So somebody gets a breakthrough. With this girl, when did she leave school and started working, that she will buy a car, or that she will do this, and all these people serve, and we don't know what they are doing. They are not telling us the whole truth. Before now, they will tell us, small girl with big God. Listen to me. Anything you attack, you can't attract. You can't. And that's a major reason many people are poor and they are not aware. Anything you despise, you repel. You repel. And this is a major truth the devil has used to hold some people in poverty. And majorly it is the poor. When I say poor, not poor as a situation, but poor as a condition. It is the poor that always criticize, attack everything. You don't know the secret prices people pay. You don't know. Sometimes in the week, somebody comes in here, Pastor, God led me in tears, and we come to this altar to drop a sacrifice when nobody sees. And stays on this altar crying to God when nobody sees. And when the person is done, he walks away. And then tomorrow, you hear a testimony, and you that is sleeping and slumbering and doing your own things casually, you're wondering, hey, when did he even start coming to church? That how can he give this to God? And now so God they walk. Nobody same God where I know. So goodwill means I am excited about what is happening around you, and that excitement shows that I'm interested. And if you are interested, then definitely you attract. Look at Ephesians chapter 6, verse 7 and 8. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 7 and 8. It says, with goodwill, doing service to the Lord and not to men. With goodwill, doing service to the Lord and not to men. Why will you do this? He said, knowing that whatsoever good any man doeth, whatsoever good any man doeth, whatsoever good any man doeth, whatsoever good any woman doeth, the same he shall receive. Receive from where? From God. Not from the man you did it for. The same you receive of the Lord, whether you are bond or free, whether you are tall or short, whether you are fat or slim, whether you are educated or not educated, the same goodwill that you did becomes a raw material for creating what you desire. You receive from God. And I want you to please understand that God pays. God is a rewarder. That's why I told my wife sometime, I said, don't get angry when you do good to people and they return with ingratitude. They return with mockery, or they return with, just let it go. Don't let it bother you, because it's not about the person. It's about the principle. It's not about the person. It's about the principle. You will receive of the Lord. A time comes where every good you do, you did, you have consciously registered your name. You have added to your account. It's an investment. You have made transfer into your account. And that account is not domiciled with man. That account is not domiciled with the devil. God has access to this account. He looks at that is the bank. So a time comes when you need goodwill. And God said, you have sown to somebody. Now go and withdraw from your account. And then a check is issued. Go and withdraw some amount. And you withdraw. And people that don't understand will be like, how did this happen? They didn't know you've been investing. Never criticize what you don't understand. Listen, never criticize a level you have not been. Never. Never criticize a level you've not been. When you are sent to a certain level, there are things you begin to see that at the level where you were, you couldn't have comprehended that it exists. So your brother is excited that something good has happened. Don't begin to scrutinize and question all manner. Where, how, this, that. I only do that to people who's, of course, some level of income I know. Okay? When somebody in this church maybe pays a tithe that is different from, that is exponentially different from what he or she pays regularly, I always call. What happened? Where is this money from? Okay, I did a property transaction and I got this commission, so that's why I paid this. Okay, because I know this has not been the pattern. Okay. So, but you are there. That is it. I don't even understand what they are doing. You may not understand what they are doing. If the light is shining on my sister and I'm sitting close to her, somehow, if I stay very close, the reflection will come to me. And when the light stays so much on her, it will begin to expand. It will begin to illuminate that environment. Because I am excited that it's happening for her. I'm excited it's happening for him. So, it flows to my direction. That's the way to attract favor speedily. And you keep doing that consistently. I told somebody and I repeat, I said I can never be stranded under God. Why? I understand how systems work. So quickly, what is goodwill? Somebody may ask me. Goodwill is simply defined as favor enjoyed as a result of perceived reputation. Favor you enjoy as a result of perceived reputation. Somebody does not know you much, but somehow, as you appear, there is a spark. I just want to do this for you, or I have heard about you. Look at Esther chapter 2, verse 15. The Bible says concerning Esther that now when it was the turn of Esther, people have been coming and going, but when it was the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king. She required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained. Did you see that word? Obtain. There is how to position, to activate. That obtain there is an action word. It's a verb. It's not passive. She obtained favor. She didn't grab it, but there is a spiritual transaction that has happened. So when she appeared, there was a magnet, there was a resonance. Not just from the eyes of Haggai, the king chamberlain, from everyone that looked upon her. Sir and ma, question. Do you think Esther was the most beautiful among all the ladies? She wasn't. She wasn't the tallest. She wasn't the one that has the most beautiful shape. She wasn't the one that was the most beautiful facially. She was not. There was an aura she carried. There was a presence she carried. So everyone that looked at her, there was a spark. And that spark was not a lustful spark. Something just flowed. I just like your persona. I just like the aura you radiate. That was what, and when it was her turn, as soon as she appeared before the king, the Bible says that was the end of the competition. Those that went ahead of her, waiting for results, for everybody to pass, so that the king and the panel of judges could get their results. And those that were waiting for Esther to go, so that they too would come and pass. That was the end of competition. Those were waiting, they waited in vain. Those that were waiting to pass also waited to come, also waited in vain. The king said, no more contest. This is it. So those, all of you, find your way. You that have not come, I don't really want to see any other person. This is it. There was a magnetic force that compelled the attention of the king by reason of the aura that Esther radiated. And sir, time will fail me to begin to delve into the history of Esther that manifested by that favor. If you doubt me, even when she became queen, the Bible says even in the palace, Esther was also doing or in obedience to every instruction of Mordecai, like or as when she was with him. The change of status did not change her nature. The change of status did not change her attitude. The change of status did not change her understanding of the principles of honor and respect, to whom respect is due. She still maintained that attitude of honor to let you know that she was coming from somewhere. For many people, going to the palace, and she heard that Mordecai was, he said, what is wrong with him? That's one problem with people. How do they say it now? See finish. You don't know that level has changed. I may be your house girl years ago, but level has changed. You must accord me the kind of honor. Go and tell him, if he doesn't want to wear the clothes, let him sort himself out. This was a man that nurtured you. This was somebody that helped you. This was somebody that was a ladder to you. This was somebody that invested his influence on you. This was somebody that invested his equity on you. This was somebody that recommended you. Right now, just because of a little light of success, you should know that level has changed. Honor, despise, respect flies out of the window. That is the reason many young people are still struggling. That's the reason many have not been able to assess the level of weight of glory that they should accept, because they don't understand this. And I see it more amongst young men. Talking to elders. I told us a story how I went to somebody and I saw the man. He was talking to one of the staff in the presence of his wife. Talking down on him, shouting at him. When the person left, I told him, I said, don't do this. Don't do this. This is the way down. Do you know what you have just done? A man's wife came to visit him and he came in his presence. You are talking down on him, shouting on him. Do you know what you have just done to that woman? Because you pay him salary? But Esther maintained that. As you leave church today, anytime you see things happen, listen, that I connect, don't just say I connect. It has become like a cliche for Christians. Let it be a statement that comes from a place of revelation, backed up by practical connection. There's a young man, I've been having issues, very well-to-do young man, a professional in his field, having issues with marital settlements. I placed him on a fast and I prayed for him. But when I was done, I told him, I said, there's 2 of my children that are about to wed. You are trusting God for marriage. They are about to wed. I didn't ask him to sow a seed into my life. I said, look for their account number. I told somebody, I said, get this person's account number and give him. Because he doesn't reside in Owerri. He came from Abuja. I said, these people are about to wed in the month of June. I want you to sow into their lives, because their reality is still your expectation. Their testimony is still your expectation. What you are trusting God for is what they are already celebrating. So, sow into that life. Goodwill is a valuable, intangible asset in life's transaction. This is a valuable, intangible asset in life's transaction. Goodwill is a valuable, intangible asset in life's transaction. Because you don't see it, you don't know that it's an asset. When you keep sowing it, sir, you are building your asset base, your spiritual asset base. The possession of goodwill is superior to the possession of a good money. When you have opportunity to choose between money and goodwill, I am speaking to you, sir. Take goodwill, leave money alone, because money will bring goodwill. Or rather, goodwill will bring money. Money may not buy it, but goodwill will bring money. Why? It's an atmosphere, it's an aura. The strength of your goodwill determines also what you can survive in the days of confrontation. The strength of your goodwill, it determines what you can survive in the day of confrontation, in the day of challenge, in the day when men will come to seek for you. When situations will challenge you, your invested goodwill determines what you can survive. Time will fail me to talk to you about the paralytic man in Mark chapter 2, from verse 1 to 5. You know the story, that the 4 friends carried him when the guy was paralyzed from the neck down. He was completely useless to himself. He was absolutely immobile. Yet, his 4 friends said, not on our watch. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think that that guy was an invaluable friend, and they would leave their businesses, leave their career, and travel miles carrying him? And when they got to where Jesus was, the Bible said there was no access to meet Jesus. They found a way. They bought ladder, bought rope, bought tools, and climbed to the top and removed somebody's thing. Why? Our friend must have healing. Our friend must recover. Our friend must bounce back. Because he was an asset when he had capacity. I have told you before, and I say again, when God has lighted your candle, sir, light as many candles as you can on your way, because you may meet a storm on the way that will blow up that candle. And if that happens, if you have lighted candles on your way, you can just turn back and you will be ignited again to continue the journey. Many times, people's candle gets blown off, maybe at the gate there, and the last one they lighted, if I thought they had any, possibly maybe somewhere at control, they have to start walking back from this junction back to control before they could get, and it will take years for many people. But when there are lights around you that you have already ignited, all you do is to turn back, and the one behind you will just light you, and you continue your journey. It saves you time, it saves you stress. They did that for him. And as I begin to wind down, listen to me. Goodwill grants you access to other people's knowledge. When you have goodwill, people invest their knowledge on you consciously. Goodwill also grants you access to networks that are beyond your influence. When you have access to goodwill, people can invest their network upon you. Do business with this person because I know him. Give this person a job. I know him. I can vouch for him. I can invest my integrity on him. I can invest my influence on him. That if you deal with him, you won't have any reason to regret. And many today don't have this equity in their journey of life. And that's why they are struggling. Ladies and gentlemen, goodwill gives you access to other people's money. You may have ideas, but there's no money. So when goodwill is there, it gives you access to other people's money. Goodwill can be your advocate in your absence. When you are not there and you have goodwill, goodwill becomes your advocate in your absence. Get me a man, the King Saul said, that knows how to play well. And somebody raised his hand and said, I know a son of Jesse somewhere. David had no access to the palace, but his name was mentioned at the palace. Why? He had invested in the lives of those soldiers. Goodwill is a wall of defense against human and demonic conspiracies. When there is demonic conspiracy, goodwill becomes a wall of defense around you. And lastly, goodwill is a transgenerational equity. Goodwill is a transgenerational equity. Is there any, David said, that is alive of the household of Saul in 2 Samuel chapter 9 from verse 1 to 5, that I may do him good, not for Saul's sake, for Jonathan's sake. Oh my God. Who will favor your children tomorrow because of what you did today? Who? Who will hear about you tomorrow and open doors for you because of what you did today? When it builds your reputation, please know that this is a transgenerational asset. When you have goodwill, somebody somewhere remembers and said, I know what you did. Like the story I told you. Please stand as I tell you this story. A young lady was angry at his father, that his father was a director in the civil service and retired, and then was sick, about to die. This young lady saw other of her peers, her friends, whose fathers were also not up to even directors, and they were living big. She was angry that her father was not into corruption. She told her father, you are a director, all you do, you keep integrity. You have been telling us this integrity pays, this and that and that, that and that and that and that. That look at her friends are all enjoying things, and now you are sick. What do I do? The father told her, he said, my daughter, I may not have left money for you, but I left a name for you. I may not have left money for you, but I left a name for you. Sir and Ma. Few years down the line, 5 years after, this lady went to bid for a contract in one of the federal ministries in Abuja, and they did all the screenings. Somebody was trying to sabotage her. Someone was trying to divert the contract, and then somebody told us, if you can see the director, maybe you can do something. But not even that. The director that was supposed to sign the whatever from the final approval so that the contract can go to the other people that the panel, the committee has already approved. He saw the name, and he was like, this name sounds familiar. He said, go and get me this person. When she walked in, saw the name. He said, can you introduce yourself? She mentioned her name. He said, are you the daughter of so and so? She said, yes. The man stood up and said, sit down. She sat down. He said, where is your father? He said that he's late, he died 5 years ago. He said, when I saw this name, something just went on. I know that I know this name. He sat and said, your father was the one that sponsored my school when I got admission and my parents couldn't have money to pay. Your father told me to go to school, that he will pay. And they mentioned 2 other instances where the father came through. He said, I have been seeking for a way to pay him back. But for his sake, he said, this contract is yours. And many others. This young lady became a multi-millionaire. Then, of course, when I say multi-millionaire, not 10 million, not 20 million, I mean in hundreds. Because several contracts of tens of millions, 100 and something million would just be flowing from that to her, as long as that man was on the seat. Why? The father didn't leave 10 million for her, but she has made hundreds of millions based on the equity that the father invested before he died. Lift up your hands and give God praise.